May 1, 1943. Somewhere high above the grey, restless waters of the English Channel, a B-17 Flying Fortress is dying. Fire races through its belly like a living thing. The radio compartment is an inferno. Smoke pours through the fuselage in thick, choking waves. Ammunition begins to cook off, bullets detonating in every direction, punching new holes through the aluminum skin. 3 men have already jumped, vanishing into the cold water below. 2 more lie bleeding, unable to move. The pilots are trapped in the cockpit, cut off by a wall of flame. And in the middle of it all stands one man. 5'6", barely 130 pounds. A staff sergeant nobody wanted to fly with. 32 years old. 6 weeks in England. This is his first combat mission. His name is Maynard Smith. They call him Snuffy. And he has 90 minutes to save a burning airplane. German fighters are still circling. The aircraft is 20,000 feet above the ocean. No help is coming. No one else can fight the fire. No one else can man the guns. No one else can tend the wounded. It is just Snuffy Smith alone in a flaming bomber, with the lives of everyone still aboard hanging on what he does next. What happens in the next hour and a half will make him the first enlisted airman in American history to receive the Medal of Honor. But the strange thing about Snuffy Smith is this. When the Secretary of War flies across the Atlantic to personally place that medal around his neck, no one can find him. Because the hero is in the kitchen, peeling potatoes. This is the story of the man nobody liked. Maynard Harrison Smith was born in 1911 in the small town of Cairo, Michigan. His father was a successful lawyer. His mother was a schoolteacher. By local standards, the Smith family was well off, and Maynard knew it. From the beginning, he carried himself like someone who believed the world owed him something. He grew into a boy who bent rules, talked back, and treated authority like an inconvenience. His parents tried to straighten him out by sending him to a military boarding school in Indiana, hoping discipline might fix what indulgence had created. It didn't. He graduated, but nothing inside him changed. As a young man, he drifted from job to job. The Treasury Department. The Michigan Banking Commission. He married in 1929 and divorced 3 years later. When his father died in 1934, Maynard made a choice that would define the next stretch of his life. He stopped working. He lived off his inheritance. No responsibilities. No steady job. No ambition. Just a man in his 30s convinced he was smarter than everyone else, coasting on money that would not last forever. And eventually, it didn't. By 1942 the inheritance was gone, and worse, Maynard had failed to pay child support. The court had had enough. A judge looked at a 31-year-old man with no job, no money, and no sense of responsibility, and gave him a choice. Jail. Or the military. Maynard Smith chose the military. Not out of patriotism. Not out of duty. Simply because it beat a prison cell. He enlisted in the Army Air Forces on August 31, 1942, and quickly discovered that the air war over Europe was devouring men at a terrifying pace. Bomb crews were being shot down faster than replacements could arrive. And one job in particular was always short of volunteers. Aerial gunners. They were the men who sat in glass bubbles and open windows with machine guns, defending the bomber from enemy fighters. It was one of the deadliest jobs in the entire war. But it came with better pay and automatic promotion. That was all Snuffy needed to hear. He volunteered for gunnery school, not chasing glory, just chasing a paycheck. When he finished training, Staff Sergeant Maynard Smith was shipped to England and assigned to the 423rd Bomb Squadron at RAF Philly. Within days, Everyone knew exactly who he was. Obnoxious, insubordinate, loud, arrogant. A man who acted like rank applied to everyone but him. He was short, prematurely gray, red-eyed, flat-footed, and absolutely convinced of his own superiority despite having never seen combat. The other airmen started calling him Snuffy, after a lazy comic strip character who lived life on his own terms. The nickname stuck. In an Air Force desperate for gunners, nobody wanted him. For 6 weeks, Snuffy sat on the ground while other men flew mission after mission. Crews would rather take their chances short-handed than bring him along. But eventually, war ran out of patience. On the night of April 30th, the mission board went up. Target: the German submarine pens at Saint-Nazaire, France. Flak City, one of the most heavily defended places in occupied Europe. 78 B-17s would cross the channel, bomb the pens, and come home. At 3 in the morning, crews were shaken awake for briefing. Rain fell. Clouds hung low. The mission was still on. Snuffy Smith was assigned to a veteran crew, flying as the ball turret gunner. The pilot, Lieutenant Lewis Johnson, was on his 25th mission, his last before going home. Everyone else knew what to expect. Everyone except Snuffy. The ball turret was a glass and metal sphere slung beneath the bomber. The gunner climbed inside, knees to chest, sealed in with 2 machine guns and a breathtaking view straight down into empty air. At 5'6" and 130 pounds, Snuffy fit perfectly. The B-17 lifted off into the darkness and turned south. The bombing run went smoothly. Bombs fell. The formation turned back toward what they thought was England. 2 hours later, they descended through cloud cover toward a coastline. The navigator believed they were home. They weren't. They were still over France, directly above Brest, another fortress of German guns. The bombers dropped to 2,000 feet. And then the sky exploded. Flak burst around them. Fighters swarmed in. Shells tore through aluminum and flesh. Johnson's aircraft was hit again and again. Fuel tanks ruptured. Fire erupted in the radio compartment and raced backward. Oxygen lines were severed. Control cables snapped. The ball turret lost power. Snuffy was trapped beneath a burning airplane. He forced open the hatch and pulled himself into hell. Smoke blinded him. Flames roared. Ammunition detonated. 3 men bailed out into the sea and vanished forever. The tail gunner lay bleeding, unable to move. Up front, the pilots were sealed inside the cockpit, cut off by fire, unaware who was still alive. In the middle of the inferno stood the man nobody wanted. And Snuffy Smith went to work. He bandaged the tail gunner, stopping the bleeding with shaking hands. He grabbed a fire extinguisher and attacked the flames. When it ran out, he found another. When that emptied, he ran to the waist guns and opened fire on German fighters. Left gun. Right gun. Back to the fire. Back to the wounded man. For 90 minutes he fought 3 wars at once. Ammunition exploded around him. He threw burning boxes out through holes in the fuselage. He ripped away flaming debris. He beat at the fire with blankets and clothing. When nothing else worked, he used his own urine. Up front, Johnson could only pray. Somehow, impossibly, the bomber stayed airborne. They crossed the channel. They reached England. They crash-landed. The airplane broke in half. And everyone still alive walked out. The wreck had more than 3,000 holes in it. Johnson would later say the truth plainly. Snuffy Smith saved them all. 2 months later, when the Secretary of War came to award him the Medal of Honor, they found him in the kitchen. On potato duty. That was Snuffy. A hero. A troublemaker. A man nobody liked. And the man who, when everything fell apart, did exactly what had to be done.